In the deep silence of forests, abandoned villages, and forgotten edges of civilization, there are stories that feel less like history and more like something whispered from another world. These are not legends or myths. They are documented, real accounts of children who grew up without human contact. Children who never learned language in the way we know it. Children who did not walk, eat, or even think as we do. Their stories are unsettling, quiet, and deeply human. Tonight, we slowly travel through time and geography to explore the true historical stories of feral children. Children raised not by families, but by absence, by animals, by isolation, by the raw rules of nature itself. Imagine a child born into the world with no memory of a mother's voice, no warmth of a human touch, no words to shape thoughts. From the very beginning, survival replaces love, instinct replaces language, and silence replaces conversation. One of the earliest recorded cases comes from the forests of Germany in the early 18th century. In 1724, hunters near the town of Hamelin encountered a strange boy running on all fours. His movements were fast, unnatural, and animal-like. He avoided eye contact, fled at the sight of humans, and fed himself by tearing apart plants with his teeth. He became known as Peter the Wild Boy. Peter could not speak. He showed no understanding of human customs. When brought into society, he resisted clothing, beds, and even cooked food. Fire frightened him. Mirrors confused him. He seemed to exist entirely in the present moment without memory or anticipation. Scientists and philosophers of the time were fascinated. Was Peter proof that humanity was shaped entirely by society? Or was something innate missing in him? Despite years of care, Peter never learned to speak. He lived out his days quietly, dependent on others, trapped between worlds. Not fully animal, not fully human. But Peter was not alone. In 1797, in the forests of southern France, a naked boy emerged from the wilderness. He bore scars across his body, evidence of years spent surviving alone. This child, later named Victor of Aveyron, became one of the most studied feral children in history. Victor showed no reaction to human voices. He did not respond to his name. Cold and heat meant little to him. Hunger ruled his actions. He devoured food with his hands, sniffing it like an animal before eating. A physician named Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard dedicated years of his life to Victor. Itard believed that education could awaken Victor's humanity. He patiently tried to teach him words, emotions, and empathy. Progress was painfully slow. Victor learned a few gestures. He showed brief moments of affection, but language never fully came. Victor's case taught the world something chilling. There is a window in early childhood when language must be learned. Miss it, and the door may never fully open again. As the 19th century continued, similar stories surfaced across Europe, Asia, and Africa, each one different, yet hauntingly similar. In India, during the 1920s, a missionary named Joseph Singh claimed to have found two girls living among wolves. Their names were Camilla and Amalar. According to reports, they walked on all fours, howled at night, and ate raw meat. Human presence terrified them. Amalar died young. Camilla survived longer and showed slow adaptation to human life. She learned to stand upright. She learned a few words. But even after years, she preferred darkness and silence. At night, she would cry in long, mournful sounds that echoed through the orphanage halls. Some historians debate the accuracy of Singh's account, but similar cases in India suggest a pattern. Children abandoned due to poverty, disability, or superstition often survived on the fringes of villages, sometimes integrating with animals, sometimes simply alone. In the Soviet Union during the mid-20th century, cases of extreme neglect revealed children who were technically raised among humans, but without interaction, locked in rooms, tied to beds, spoken to rarely, if at all. One such child was named Oksana Malaya. Left alone in a yard as a toddler, she sought warmth and companionship in a dog kennel for years. She lived among dogs, copying their behavior. When discovered at age 8, she barked, growled, and moved on all fours. Language was almost non-existent. Oksana eventually learned to speak in short sentences, but her cognitive development remained limited. She could understand emotions, but expressing them was difficult. The damage of early isolation could not be undone. These stories force us to confront a disturbing truth. Human beings are not born human in the full sense. Humanity is learned. It is shaped by touch, language, and connection. Without these, the mind develops differently. In 1970, in California, a case emerged that shocked the modern world. A 13-year-old girl known as Jeannie was discovered after a lifetime of isolation, locked in a small room, tied to a chair, forbidden to speak, punished for making noise. She had never learned language. And like children lost in forests, Jeannie's wilderness was silence. Despite intense therapy and global attention, Jeannie never fully acquired grammar or fluent speech. Her case confirmed what victors had hinted centuries earlier. There is a critical period for language development. Miss it, and the mind adapts in ways that cannot fully reverse. What is perhaps most haunting is not their inability to speak, but their silence. Many feral children do not ask questions, do not wonder, do not reflect. Their inner world exists without narrative. They live in the now, Some researchers describe their minds as peaceful. Others describe them as trapped. Without language, memories cannot be organized. Trauma cannot be processed. Identity cannot fully form yet. These children often show something remarkable: an intense awareness of surroundings, acute hearing, sensitivity to movement, an instinctive understanding of nature. They remind us that civilization is not a guarantee. It is a fragile structure built on connection. Across history, feral children have been treated as curiosities, experiments, or even monsters, rarely as victims. But every one of these stories begins with abandonment, not by wolves, by humans. Tonight, as you listen and drift closer to sleep, consider how much of who you are was shaped by voices you heard as a child. Words spoken softly, stories told before sleep, a name repeated with love. Without those moments, the mind becomes something else, not broken, just different, and somewhere, deep in forgotten places, history whispers the quiet footsteps of children who grew up without ever being told who they were.